In this video, we're going to be building an upper and lower cabinet set along with 2 floating shelves for a dining room storage pantry area. First, we're going to start off by cutting down the 3/4 inch plywood for the 2 cabinets. These are basic cabinet boxes made up of 2 sides, a bottom, and stretcher pieces on the top and back. Everything will be assembled with wood glue, pocket holes, and screws. Here, I'm routing out a groove for the back panel of the cabinet to slide in. Next, we'll be putting together face frames for each cabinet. The face frames hide the plywood edges as well as give a place for the doors to be attached. Again, they are assembled with wood glue, pocket holes, and screws. Next, I'll be building some custom doors for the cabinets. These are basic shaker-style doors, made up of rails, stiles, and a floating 1/4 inch plywood panel in the center. To strengthen the door frames, I'll be using a mortise and tenon system. The stiles and the rails both have a mortise cut out, which is a groove made in the center of one side of the board. The rails also have a tenon routed out on each side. The tenon on the rails fit into the mortise of the stiles. The center panel will then fit into the mortise groove. After doing a quick dry fit to make sure everything fits right, the doors are glued and clamped to ensure they stay straight and flat. After all the doors are sanded, I'll add a light chamfer to the outside edge of each door. The chamfer adds a nice edge detail to the doors, taking the sharp 90-degree edge and beveling it to a softer 45-degree angle. Then, using a Craig door hinge jig, I'll drill out the holes for the soft closed door hinges. Next up, I'll cut out some shelves using the 3/4 inch plywood. Apply edge banding, sand, and add polyurethane. After sanding the 2 cabinets, I added center dividers for the shelves, which I kind of forgot about when putting the cabinets together. These center dividers will help hold up the shelves on each side of the cabinet, one on each side. Next, I got out my HVLP paint sprayer for the first time and put a coat of paint on the cabinets and doors. The first coat turned out okay, but there were a few patches that needed some extra attention. I'll be adding some more coats with the roller and brush later on. Next, I'll start working on the tabletop for the bottom cabinet, which is a repurposed red oak stair tread. The stair treads are 48 inches long and have a rounded bevel on one end. After cutting off the rounded end, I join a couple pieces together to make it longer and wider to fit the cabinet. And just like the doors, I add a light chamfer on the outside edges. Then sand, and add several coats of polyurethane. At this point, everything was going relatively smoothly, until I did my first dry fit into the actual space. I discovered that the walls that the cabinet and the shelves are going up against are way more bowed than I originally thought or planned out. So I glue on an extra piece to the tabletop that I can scribe to the wall and get a nice tight fit. Also, since the cabinet will be partially inside this small nook, the right side has to fit against 3 sides, which makes it tough to scribe. So I cobbled together a guide from some poster board and tape. Once all that's glued up and marked, I take the jigsaw and cut the curve. So not only did the tabletop not fit right, but the cabinets also wouldn't fit in all the way into the nook. So the cabinet face frames needed to be cut down a few inches to make space for it to squeeze in. Luckily, I forgot to glue the face frames on, so the extra material came off without too much hassle. Moving on to some more finishing touches, we add shelf pinholes and put the hinges onto the doors, getting ready to install. The top cabinet uses a French cleat system to hang on the wall. The board on the wall is screwed into 3 studs and has a 45-degree angled cut that fits into the complementary 45-degree cut on the cabinet. I'd like to say that it went in that easy, but that's editing magic for you. Next, I cut away the baseboard and the shoe molding from the wall to make space for the bottom cabinet. Then, I screwed both cabinets into the wall studs for extra sturdiness. Now, with a little help from my assistant, we add the rest of the door hinges and prep the doors to be attached to the cabinets. And for a couple finishing touches, I add some red oak trim to the top and under the cabinet for a little style. Add shelves, handles, and the top cabinet is done. The golden reddish color of the oak paired really nicely with the green of the cabinets, as well as the brass handles. The next big project are the shelves. These shelves are pretty deep, so making sure they were as sturdy as possible was the main priority. I put together an interior frame that could be screwed into the wall studs. The problem with the curved wall was also an issue here, which you can see. So, I scribed this board that would later be glued to the rest of the veneer. The shelves will be covered with 1/4-inch red oak boards to keep the overall shelf light and match the tabletop of the cabinet. After sanding, I also glued on oak 1x2s as edge banding that would cover the frame of the shelf. The left side of the shelves needed additional stability, so I'm adding metal rods into the wall studs that would go through the shelf and strengthen it. Luckily on the right side, the shelf fits into the nook and has 3 points of contact, making it really solid. Once again, I sand, add a chamfer to the outside edge, and this time try out a spray polyurethane. Finally, I'm able to glue the shelf together and add some screws from the frame to the 1x2 face pieces. Times that by 2, and we have 2 shelves done. Lastly, I fasten the tabletop with some figure 8 fasteners. Well, this was definitely my biggest and most complex build to date, filled with so many head-scratching moments. But overall, I was able to accomplish what I set out to do. These cabinets and shelves add a ton of functionality to this space, and it doesn't look half bad. Thanks for watching. On to the next.